everyone. Great to have you here. Thank you ever so much for being here. I really do appreciate your time. I know that everybody's busy. We've all got things that we should be doing, but you know, if you're here today, you're going to really, really benefit from listening to a gentleman that we're so privileged to have here. I'll introduce you to him in just a moment. Just to clarify, we're live on LinkedIn, we're live on Facebook, we're live on YouTube, we're live on iTunes and Amazon Music. And I don't know about you, but I just think that's so cool that, you know, in this day and age, I can remember, you know, I'm definitely old enough to remember if I wanted to get a marketing message out, it was sticking loads of letters into envelopes and so on and so forth, and how the world has changed that we can do something like this here today. So I'm here. I've got a fantastic guest for you. I'm so looking forward to this. I've been really excited all week telling everybody about it, and I'd like to introduce you, if I may. I'm going to just read this out because I don't want to get it wrong. I really don't. So I'm going to introduce you to Jairek Robbins. His mission, what he does, is optimize human performance. He's a best-selling author. Fast Company calls him inspiring and says that he'll make your life less ordinary. Forbes says Jairek will teach you how to succeed. Deepak Chopra says that Jairek will help you to create meaning and fulfillment in your life. And Brian Tracy applauds Jairek's ability to teach people and develop meaning and purpose. And do you know what? I could go on and on and on, but I'm not going to. I'm going to welcome you. Thank you ever so much again for being here, Jairek. And if you just want to say hello to everybody.
Hello, everyone. Nice to see you. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. It's great to be here. So just to kick off, could you share a little bit about your journey, you know, the ups and downs, some of the key experiences that you've had, and how that honed your skills to be where you are today?
Sure. So I've been coaching people now for 20 years, which is crazy. I spent 6 years doing it under my father's company and being trained by them for 250 hours and practicing for 6 years coaching their clients. The last 14 years, I've been out on my own coaching people. And the main focus in the beginning was just helping people be better. And I was good at helping them with their health and good at helping them with their productivity or their time management. Over time, you know, I had years of just having a coaching practice, which was me coaching people. And then eventually it got to a place where I figured out if I'm the one cranking the hand crank all the time, I can only go so fast and I can only go so far. And you know, I call it a hand crank business where you're the one there doing the work all day long, every day, trying to keep the thing moving. And even with the leverage and the internet, it's still challenging to go very far, very fast in a large scale way. And so eventually, I remember I decided to have a coaching and training business. So I hired a few people and we started doing events all over the world. And I remember I was so proud of myself. I went and did probably 8 or 9 years ago. I did 22 events in 22 cities around the world in 1 year. Wow. And I was so dang proud of myself because we reached people in Stockholm and London and down in Australia and over in Canada and the US and New York and all these places. And I was so proud. And I got to the end of the year and I went and sat with my accountant and he said, "How do you think you did?" I was like, "We killed it. I mean, we made more revenue. We touched more lives. We went more places. We did everything." And he's like, "Did anyone teach you financial literacy?"
Okay.
Like, what do you mean? And he's like, "I don't know how to say this nicely. You would have made more money if you worked at McDonald's."
Wow.
And I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "Let me put it another way. You paid to work all year." I was like, "What? You got to be kidding me." And it was one of those moments where I sat down and I was like, man, I don't know what I don't know. And I understood helping people. I understood changing people's lives. I understand meaningful results. I understood all these things, but I didn't understand business worth beans. And so I went and found a mentor. And for the last about 9 years, I've worked with them in different either one-on-one or in group programs. And this guy absolutely transformed my business world. My personal life was going good, but my business world wasn't there yet. So fast forward that, we applied what we learned. We grew 122%. We got wildly profitable. He taught me how to do more by doing less, or get more done by doing less things. I cleared probably 80 to 90% of the stuff off my calendar every week, but my business grew by 143%.
Wow.
I was like, this is some weird counter logic going on, because I'm doing less work than I've ever done, but I'm growing more than I've ever grown in business. This is crazy sauce. And at first I was like, does this only work for me? And I have a philosophy in life, which is learn it, then live it, fully apply it and get the result, and then give it, pay it forward, and see if you can help someone else do it too. And so I learned it. I lived it. I grew 143% over that couple of years. And I was like, I wonder if I can replicate. And so I went and reached out and started this little program, and I put it together. And all of a sudden I had a client who grew 197% in what was it? 179% in profit and 195% in profitability. It was crazy over a year. And they grew their entire company by 50% at the same time. I was like, holy smokes, this shit works. Like it was principles. And it was principles. And at this stage, my mentor's retiring. He says he's hanging up the spurs. He's no longer doing this. He's winding down.
Right.
And it was like one of those things you hear in life where the old wise person who's done it for 40, 50 years and made hundreds of millions of dollars in the process kind of passed down the ancient knowledge. And I was lucky enough to catch it just in time.
I think, what you said about having a coach, I come across meet coaches who don't have coaches. I don't get that. If you're a coach and don't have a coach, how's that work? It's like you don't believe in your own product, isn't it? It's like just weird. But it's interesting, Jairek, what you've just said, because I run my group coaching this morning, and we kicked off our sort of session together, and the question was, what's holding you back right now? And it's what you said about your fantastic time and what you were doing and traveling the world. I think with everybody, we've all got strengths and weaknesses and lesser strengths, and having a coach is just so incredibly important. What do you think? Why do you think that is? Why do we need a coach? And what do you sort of bring to as a leading coach? What do you bring to the party?
So let me put it this way. I mean, there's 8 billion humans on Earth, and probably only, let's say, 400 million of them have ever had any type of coach. And I'm going to include reading a book as some sort of coach. Yeah. And so if there's 7.9 billion people who've never had a coach, I mean, the world's still going. Good point. I'm going to go on the ledge and say, you don't need a coach. If you want to have a perfectly average life, if you want to be your everyday couch potato, if you want nothing more than the status quo, if you want a so-so relationship, average health, kids that think you're strange and need to leave them alone. Like if you want all that shit, don't get one. I'm not saying you have to. Not everyone wants an Olympic gold medal. Not everyone wants to be the best. Not everyone wants to contribute to society in a meaningful way. Not everyone wants to know that they made an impact in their life. That's the God honest truth. I've traveled the world enough and gone enough places to realize not everyone wants that. No. And so I don't think everyone needs one. I think for people who have something inside of them that they know they're made for more. They know there's something inside of them. They know there's a message the world needs to hear, and it can only be shared by them. Yeah. They know that deep down inside, they want to be the one that makes the difference in their community. They want to be the one to be able to fund their kids' soccer match and, fund the local marathon. And they want to be the one to step up when their neighbor's in need and take care of them. They want to be the one who's able to be there when it matters most. Then, you're going to need more than yourself to get it done. I think, and here's my thought, that there's this thing that happened in personal development, which was all about an individualism type thing, where it's people who, and you hear it, they get into reading these books and going to seminars and taking courses, and you hear the same pattern. And the pattern is, I feel so lonely. No one understands me. Mm-hmm. You're supposed to ditch your old friends and find new ones to raise your standard. Mm. Here's the truth. We don't get better by living in a bubble and alienating ourselves from everybody else. We get better by standing in the middle of a moment that we don't like, where we radically disagree with someone, but being able to use a breathing technique and staying calm and choosing to still see them as a human instead of vilify them in our mind.
Yeah.
That's where we grow.
Yeah.
We grow, I think it's called human development or person or community development, where we're actually using the tools with the people around us. That's the hardest part.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so my thought is go and learn it from the book and then go have the conversation with the person that bugs the hell out of you. And just know in the beginning, you're probably going to be really bad at it. And you're going to get triggered. And you're going to say something stupid. And you're going to walk away and go, oh, why did I even try that?
Why did I do that? Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Practice and then go back and do it again.
That's the only way of succeeding, isn't it?
Yeah. You can have the discussion and enjoy it.
Yeah. I've heard many people say the only reason I'm successful is because I've failed more than anybody else. I'm in the marketing world, and I often tell people I've done more marketing that hasn't worked than anybody in the room. And that is true. But yeah, I've learnt from that, and I've learnt what works and what doesn't. So that, I think that's really important. So let's just assume, because people are on this call now, that we're in front of a load of people who are really keen to grow. They want to grow their business. They want to improve their lives. They want to improve their health, which is obviously really incredibly important, because without that, what have we really got? What would you say? I don't know, perhaps 2 or 3 things that you think are incredibly important in order to move them forward and start raising their game?
Sure. I don't think there's 2 or 3 things. I think there's 4. We call it the Core 4, and we actually put something together called the Core 4 Challenge.
Core 4 Challenge.
And it's your health. Yeah. So number 1, and let me paint you a picture. I recently worked with a gentleman, very nice guy, and I'll ruin the story. He is on the right path now.
Right. Okay. Well, that's good. Oh, I think we've lost you there a little bit, Jairek. You've frozen. I'm not quite sure why that is. Hopefully you'll be back any second. Sorry about this, guys. Everybody watching. Jairek has frozen. Hopefully he's going to be back any second. If not, you've got me. I'm just hoping his broadband is not died and that he'll be back soon. I don't know whether you can hear me, Jairek. Oh, he's disappeared, so I'm assuming he's going to log back in and he'll be back with us pretty soon. But, it's interesting, isn't it? I think, in every area of life and business, in business we've got things like sales, marketing, operations, customer service, finance, HR, strategy and so on. And we can divide business up into those 7 sections, and we can think about those 7 sections and really rate ourselves under each of those sections. Where would we rate ourselves on a scale of 1 being awful, 10 being truly world class, and 5 being average? And it's the same, I think, with health. There's things like my flexibility, there's my strength, there's my flexibility, and then there's things that sit under that, like, the amount of exercise I do, the type of exercise I do, the diet that I have, and so on and so forth. So, I think it's really important personally to make sure that you're, whatever it is you're doing is, you're focusing on each and every element of your game. Some of you that know me know that years ago I used to play table tennis at international level, and it was exactly the same there. I focused on my serve, my return of serve, my fitness, and so on and so forth. It looks like he's back. You're back.
That's what happens. I mean, I was coaching a very
technology is wonderful.
I was about to tell what happened to him, and apparently he didn't want me to tell the story. He took out the whole power on my side of the island.
I held the fort, Jairek, and I was chatting away about different sections. I was just telling everybody I used to play table tennis at international level back like 30 odd years ago, and back then it was all about focusing on your serve, your receiver serve, your backhand, your forehand, your fitness, your footwork, and so on and so forth. And I think it's like that generally in life. But anyway, that's just what I was waffling on about while you'd gone. And welcome back, and it's good to have you back.
So let me frame this up. So everyone looks at this guy, and the company he started does $180 billion in sales revenue each year. And they look at this guy and they're like, he is successful.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, he sounds successful. And then I had a chance to work with him and some of the top people in his organization. And you start to meet these people, and they do incredibly well sales-wise. They do incredibly well business-wise. And then you find out that their doctor has them on a special meal plan because their health is all jacked up from all the stress and anxiety of working so hard.
Yeah.
And then you find out there's a divorce in the history there. And then you find out all these other issues. And each time you turn over a different part of their life, you find more issues. And I realized, I love helping people with their business. And it's not an excuse to screw up the rest of your life. Just because you're so focused on trying to succeed in one area does not give you an excuse to go mess up everything else.
No.
And so I looked at it and I said, what are the other things going on in these people's lives that we need to pay attention to? I was like, well, number one, you could be the richest person in the graveyard. If you die in the process of building your business, you did not succeed.
No.
If your doctor has to put you on some special health meal plan, or the other option is death, you're not successful.
No,
you need to figure that out.
Yeah.
So I would say in your health, it comes down to your mental health.
Yeah.
The scariest place in the world for most people is themselves. It's why they work so hard to distract themselves from having to sit still and quiet and listen to the thoughts in their own head. It scares the hell out of them.
Yeah.
For most people.
Yeah.
And so mental health, emotional, not just physically are you in shape or not, but emotionally. Can you sit in a room with a person you don't agree with, and can you regulate your emotions, and can you learn to feel the emotion but stay present and stay focused on the outcome? Can you emotionally enjoy your life? My dad said all these years, success without fulfillment is failure. Can you enjoy the process of achieving all these things you're going after?
Yeah.
So mentally, emotionally, the third one is actually physically. Are you the type of person that you can go jog a mile, jog a 5K without really huffing and puffing, or do you go up 2 flights of stairs and almost pass out? like where's your actual physical health? There's no excuse nowadays to not be healthy. I mean, you can hire a gym trainer on your cell phone to work you out in your living room. Like, you don't have to go anywhere.
Yeah.
I saw a video of a 90-year-old woman who walked a marathon in her living room that was no more than 15 feet by 15 feet. She just walked back and forth for a whole marathon.
Wow.
So there is zero excuse as far as staying physically healthy, except for the decision that says, gosh darn it, I'm going to do it. And the other thing is, are you putting yourself in proximity around other people who won't let you settle for less than what you're capable of being? Are you surrounded by other people who are doing it so it starts to feel normal? So there's the health part. The second part is relationships. Your relationships. Relationship with yourself. We talked about that one. It's a scary place for most people. Relationship with your significant other, relationship with your kids, relationship with your clients, relationship with your coworkers, relationships. So many relationships. Can you learn how to get into an alignment with people? If you want a simple exercise, imagine you and I sat down at a table and we're going to play a board game. Except for I give you the rules to checkers and someone hands me the rules to chess.
Okay. Yeah.
We're going to have a real screwy board game.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to make a move and you're going to go, that's not how it works.
I'm
going to go, what are you talking about? I read the rules. That's exactly how it works. And after, in the beginning, we might be polite and let each other do some weird stuff. But after 4 or 5 moves, you're like, listen, I'm going to be real with you. You got to learn how to play the game if you're going to sit at this table. And you look at me like, what is wrong with you? Now, this is how most people show up to life in a relationship. Now, I'll give you a weird part. When's the last time you sat down and wrote down your own rules of what you think should and shouldn't happen in a relationship? Most of us at a starting point aren't even clear on our own rules.
Oh.
Much less, we haven't found a way to clearly articulate them to other people.
Yeah.
And so the first step I would give you as far as relationships is sit down and write down the answer to this question. In a business relationship, you should always, and write down all the thoughts that come after that.
Right. Great.
And most of them you're going to go, well, that's obvious. But it's only obvious to you.
Yeah.
And then go find someone who pisses you off and breaks the rules and go, oh, shit, did you ever tell them that you believed that was a rule?
Yeah.
And did you ever ask them what their rule was? Then follow it up with a second question. In a business relationship, you should never write down all the thoughts that come after it.
Uh-huh.
Now, I guarantee the places where you're most frustrated are places where you've never told them what your rules are, and you've expected them to behave by the rules that you've never expressed.
Yeah. Do you know what? That is gold dust. That is so incredibly true. And if you don't do that, particularly I think in a relationship, for me anyway, in a relationship, if you in a situation where you expect something and you go, why did you do that? Why did you say that? Well, it's because they have a different meaning for things, isn't it? It's not, they're not like book. Me,
They've got the rule book to the board
and I'm right. I know what should be. But, if we don't know somebody else's rules, then how can we, carry out that? That's a really interesting thing, yeah.
And so that's relationships. We talk about health. Let me paint another picture for health.
Okay.
Let's say you love, I don't know, do you love cars? Are you a sports car guy?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, cool. What's your favorite sports car?
Aston Martin.
Aston Martin. How much does that thing cost?
150,000.
Perfect. 150,000. Now, let's say you and I were trying to figure out how to get it to go faster.
Right.
Why don't we swing by the airport? We'll put some jet fuel in it.
Okay.
Jets go faster, right?
Do.
We'll put jet fuel in the Aston Martin. I'm sure that'll make it go.
Yeah, it'll make it do something.
But how many of you watching instantly know that's a stupid idea?
Yeah.
Why is it stupid? Jets go faster than cars. Put jet fuel in a car, it'll go faster.
Uh-huh.
Everyone would say, well, jet fuel is for jets. Car fuel is for, petrol.
Cars.
Car fuel is for cars.
Yeah.
You go, what kind of fuel do you need?
Yeah.
Why are you putting jet fuel in your body thinking you're going to run faster?
Yeah.
Because you saw someone else eat it and they look a certain way, so you think if you eat it, you're going to get there too?
Yeah.
Here's the key. All of us run on different fuel.
Yeah.
And you got to learn which fuel do you run on and how much do you need and when. And so there's this concept when you look at the physical body, are you putting the right fuel? And then the second piece is at the right time.
Yes.
I remember I was doing some bodybuilding and I met this guy who was a world-class champion bodybuilder, and I showed him a picture of 90 days before and after.
Okay.
And he looked at it and he zoomed in and he looked around at the picture and he handed it back to me and he said, I'm proud of you. And I said, why? And he said, you really dialed in your meal plan.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, wait a minute, you're looking at my abs and you're telling me that's a meal plan? He goes, 100%. You can't get abs like that unless you eat the right thing at the right time perfectly. If you mess it up by 20 minutes, the abs don't show.
Yeah. And that's where...
And I was like, what?
Yeah.
That's crazy sauce.
Yeah.
And so many people don't even understand the concept. It's the right fuel at the right time.
Yeah. It's the right mix, isn't it? The right fuel at the wrong time, or the wrong fuel at the right time. It just doesn't work. The
other part is our body uses fuel differently. So if you go get one of those constant blood sugar monitors, eat the same thing at the same time 3 days in a row, same food, same time. One day, go for a walk and then eat it. One day, eat it and then go for a walk. One day, don't walk at all and just eat it. and watch what happens to your blood sugar on how your body uses the fuel, depending on which order you used it.
Wow. Wow.
Totally different use of the fuel.
Yeah.
And again, this is the problem. Most of us are trying to get a specific result, and we don't even understand stuff like this exists.
No.
That's the real problem.
No. You're absolutely right. Absolutely right.
So health, relationship. Third one is career and productivity. Okay. This stuff isn't hard. This is getting stuff done. This is time management. Yeah. This is learning how to leverage. This is learning. I'll tell you the simplest one that most people screw up. Do you have your pilot's license?
No.
Okay. There's this thing pilots do. I went and started getting training for my pilot's license. And when you're in the cockpit and you have the student and then you have the teacher and they're sitting side by side, and usually the instructor will take off and steer, and then they'll go, okay, it's your turn. And when it's your turn to take the controls, they'll say there's this pattern. They'll say, you're in control. And then you say back, I'm in control. And then they say back, you're in control. And that is a proper pass of who is now flying the plane.
Okay, great. Okay, I get that.
And so for most of us, if I revert that back to productivity, if you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, go together. So if you want lasting results in productivity in your career, you're going to need to go with someone.
Yeah.
But how many of us don't have a process of passing a project from one person to the other, knowing that it was properly passed?
Yes.
I worked with a lady, and I remember we were having a meeting and she mentioned something, and 3 weeks later she came back and said, is it done? I was like, is what done? She's like, oh, the thing we mentioned 3 weeks ago, we talked about this. It should be done by now. I was like, you just mentioned that in a conversation. You didn't tell me it needed to be done. And she's like, well, you should be a self-starter. You should know. I mentioned it. You're a professional. You should have heard that as a cue, and you should have gone and done it.
Yeah.
I'm like, we need to sit down and fucking talk.
Yeah. It comes back to the rules, doesn't it? She thought like, the rule was, if I mention it...
sit down. She avoided this conversation like the plague.
Yeah.
Because she lost her cool a little. I was like, we need to talk. Sit down. Come here. And I said, here's the cue. You don't know how to pass projects from one person to the next. And she goes, I've worked in corporate for 40-something years, blah, 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 blah. Who gives a shit? You still don't know how to pass a project. And go back to flying a plane. Why do they have a process of passing a project from one person to the next? Because if they didn't, that plane would crash.
Yeah.
And for most of us in our career, we're trying to get stuff done so fast that we're missing the little sequences like this that allow us to properly pass a project so that it stays productive.
Do you know, Jairek?
You're in control. I'm in control. Yeah. You're in control. The project is now passed. They know what to do, and they're going.
Do you know, Jairek, I work with people, and we all work remotely in different parts of the UK and the world, actually. And, I hear it from my guys so often. They'll say things like, oh, yeah, I've emailed it in. I'll say, is something done? They go, yeah, I've emailed them. So have they received the email? Oh, I don't know. It's just that it's like the modern world. We think just because I've emailed you that you've seen it and you've read it and you've done it. And those three things may not be the case.
But there are these little adjustments like this. And so I took this concept and I was like, okay, let me write out what are all adjustments. And then the fourth category. So we have health, mental, emotional, physical. We have relationships, getting in alignment, learning how to communicate, getting on the same team. We have career, which is productivity, powerful meetings, learning the handoff, all those different bits and pieces. Yeah. And the fourth part is wealth.
Wealth, yeah.
And this goes back to, a friend of mine. I have a friend who grew up in the streets of Uganda, and he now has 24 street kids or orphans that he takes care of, whose parents are dead, and it's just him taking care of them. And every month he messages me, and he's like, hey, we need more money for the kids. They're running out of food. We need more money. And in the beginning, I'm like, yeah, no problem. Send you money, no problem. Here, I can help out. And then after a while, the thought clicked of why is money still a problem in this person's life? And now most people go, well, Jairek, don't be ridiculous. I mean, this is a guy living on the streets in Uganda. Like, come
Not
on.
easy. Yeah.
Like, that's no excuse nowadays. He has a cell phone. He is messaging me from the other side of Earth seamlessly to ask for money. So he knows how to communicate.
Yeah.
He clearly has a path and a way in which to communicate globally.
Yeah.
Why is money still an issue?
Yeah.
And what I realized is a lot of us have patterns around money that keep us stuck in the position we're in. And for most of us, the position we're in is we work for money. Money doesn't work for us.
Sure.
And I'll ask you a question of how much longer do you want to stay stuck in the position where you have to work for money and money's not working for you? That's a choice. That's the first step. If you're not willing to make the decision that says, you know what? From now on, money's going to work for me. If you don't make that decision, you will spend the rest of your life working for money.
Yeah. And often exchanging time for money.
Then you got to start taking little steps towards it.
Yeah.
You got to go, okay, how much money can I put to work for me right now?
Yeah.
$5. Okay, good. We can start somewhere. But that $5 is working for me.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Let's make it 10 next month.
Yeah.
Let's go. And at some point, you start to stack it up where you get the right patterns, and it's a psychology piece first.
Yeah.
Do you have a money mindset?
Yeah.
Can you get the mindset right?
Yeah.
Second, do you have the money machine? Can you find lucrative ways that you can produce, a large amount of wealth or money?
Yeah.
And then do you have a money multiplier? Do you have places you can put it that will protect it and grow it and nurture it and make it really work hard for you?
Yeah, no, great advice. So tell us a little bit about, you mentioned right at the beginning about your program and what you've developed and how you've now got a system in place. Tell everybody a little bit about that and how they could maybe access that, if you would, please.
Sure. Not completely ready yet. I was just talking to my wife this morning. We are so excited. We call it the Core 4 Challenge. There's no website up for it yet. You can't find it. You got to go to JarekRobbins.com. Just send me a little message on the box that pops up in the bottom right corner and says, ask a question. Just say Core 4 Challenge and then type in your phone number and email. And when it's ready, we'll shoot you a message.
Okay.
But it's basically a year-long program that allows us to help people implement this stuff into their life. And so when my wife and I first sat down, we wanted to do like quarter 1 is all about health and quarter 2 is relationships.
Okay.
And we'll just have total immersion where we'll give them all the tools.
Yeah.
And I thought about it and I'm like, that's not the problem. You can YouTube this stuff. You can chat GPT, ask the questions, and you can get the answers to all the things.
Yeah.
As the problem is, one, being surrounded by other people in the process so that you have community. And then I said, number 2 is having time to practice.
Yes.
And so what we decided to do is each week we give you one tool. So week 1 is a health tool. Week 2 is a relationship tool. Week 3 is a career tool. Week 4 is a wealth tool. And then you have an entire month to practice that one tool before we give you another one.
Okay.
And what I found is in all my personal coaching for 20 years, when I can get people doing the behavior every day for a significant period of time, it drastically transforms their long-term results and short-term too. And so I need to get people into the rhythm. So our thought was, how do we create a space where we're literally getting people into the daily habits that will move each of the core 4 areas of their life forward each and every month?
That's a great objective, isn't it? Because as you said, really, I suppose any one of those, or even any 3 of those, if you got one missing, if you got a great relationship, career's going great, you got loads of money, but you haven't got your health, or any combination of that,
you're the richest person underground. You're in the graveyard. That didn't work out.
No. It's I think for a lot of people, one of the biggest problems with all that, and probably under each element of that as well, it's getting that balance, isn't it? If you got a great relationship, your career's going up the spout.
Watch this. Try going and sitting on a one-legged stool.
Yeah, or even a three-legged stool.
Or try a two-legged stool.
Yeah, it still doesn't work. No.
A three maybe, but a four ideally-legged stool is where the magic happens.
Yeah.
Same thing. We're trying to give you the core four.
Yeah.
So you have that four-legged stool, which is incredibly sturdy. It's a place to powerfully build your life upon.
Yeah. Fantastic. So if someone wants to sign up to your program then, or wants to just have a conversation about it, the thing to do is to go to jarekrobbins.com and to just leave the details in the box that signs up, and then once you're ready to go, you'll get back to them. So that's what to do. Yeah, fantastic. So we're coming towards the end, and I want to be respectful of your time, Jairek. What about just finishing off by, I don't know, telling people like your top 3 tips to be more successful in their life and business?
Totally. Top 3 tips. I mean, simple stuff. I'll give you 3 tips in each category if that could be helpful. So for your health, I would learn box breathing. I would practice doing an ice cold shower each day. And then I would look at something like a sauna or a steam room. I mean, you can reduce heart attack symptoms by 50% just by sitting in a sauna 3 times a week for like 15 minutes.
Wow.
You can increase your dopamine levels by 250% by doing deliberate cold exposure 2 or 3 times a week for like 3 or 4 minutes.
Okay.
And it's insane, like what it can do biochemically to your body. And then the breath work, it's absolutely a game changer when it comes to how you feel every day. And the ability, it's the only tool you have that can allow you to tap into control your autonomic nervous system. So it's a game changer when it comes to relieving stress and becoming more present. Those are really simple things you can look up and look into, or come check us out. Yeah. We'll show you how to do it. For relationships, the simplest research, there's a group that did 35 years of research on over 5,000 couples now, and they found out within a 5-minute video recording of watching a couple communicate, they can predict up to 95% accuracy if the relationship will work out or not.
Wow.
And all they measure is positive to negative interactions. If the ratio is equal, or let's say it's more negative than positive, the relationship's done in the long run. It's just going to fail. If it's equal, say 1-to-1, 1 positive, 1 negative, the relationship will fail. If it's 3 positive to every 1 negative, the relationship will be stable. If it's 6 positive to every 1 negative, the relationship will be growing and eventually flourishing.
Wow.
And so as simple as that sounds, practice creating positive rhythmic interactions at a ratio of 6-to-1. Or if you are under immense stress or have children, it's 11 positive to every 1 negative because of the excess stress.
Yeah.
So just become conscious and become aware of your ratio and then put effort to get it right. Productivity tip, as simple as it sounds, plan your week every week.
Yeah.
Sit down and map out your calendar. I always say plan your most important things first and then make your work fit around it. Plan your dates, plan your workouts, plan your time with your children, plan your vacations.
Yeah.
And once all those things are in your diary or your calendar, then figure out how to make your work fit around it.
Right.
And it's amazing what happens when you learn how to put the most important things first as far as planning and execution. Wealth, make the decision that money's going to work for you instead of you working for money.
Yeah. Yeah. Really, really good. Really good. Thank you. That's, do you know what? It's been brilliant. I've learned so many things. And I actually, as well, Jairek, there were things there that I knew that I wasn't really doing. You know what I mean?
I wrote a book about that. It's called Live It. Apply the shit you know you're supposed
it's
to be doing.
Like, I really ought to do that, but I'm just not
That's
doing it.
That's the whole point of the group, though. The whole point of the group isn't teaching new things. You'll learn new things too, but the point of it is to stay in community with people who are rhythmically making it part of their life.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you again ever so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. If maybe we could do this again one time, but come what may, I really do appreciate it, and thank you ever so much for being here. Thank you everybody for listening. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have, and I look forward to speaking to you again in the very near future. Thank you very much.
Same.
Okay, we're done. Thank you. That was brilliant. It really was. It really, it really did make me think about, my life and what I'm doing, because, we've all got areas that, I mean, actually, one of the last things you said right at the end there was, plan your important things and then fit your work in. And I do the absolute opposite to that. I plan my work and then see if I've got time to do the, the things like going down the gym goes to, it disappears to the catacombs if I'm really busy work-wise. And so I finish up not doing quite as much as I should.
Totally. That's the crazy part. We teach people this in our business program, is we give them a calendar of the week, and I say, hey, I'm going to give you 2 minutes, plan out your week.
Right.
And inevitably, everyone does exactly what you just said. They're like, well, I've got business meetings, and then I've got work, and then I've got this. And I'm like, which order did you just plan that in?
Yeah.
They're like, well, what I always do, I put my work in, and then I figure out, how in the world I'm going to
got any time. Yeah.
And then I show them a calendar.
Yeah.
And I said, let me just do this. Let me turn the entire week blue, and I'm going to put one 30-minute segment or 1 hour segment pink across the calendar for all 7 days. And I said, let me just ask, if your main goal is to be successful at pink,
okay,
and that's all the time you gave it, tell me, how many of you think we're going to be successful at an intimate relationship if the only time we gave it is that little pink line out of the whole week every week? Everyone goes, no, that ain't going to work.
No.
Okay, what if pink was your health? That ain't going to work. What if pink was your money? That ain't going to work. Then why the fuck are you planning your week like that?
Yeah.
Like, this is asinine.
Yeah.
And so let's take the calendar, and I want you to redo it, but I want you to do it in order of your values. So we help people draft out their values and say, okay, what's most important to you? And they'll say, like, my family and my relationship, and then my health, and then my this. I'm like, great. Now take those and put them in first and see what happens.
Yeah.
And people start sweating because they feel like they're misbehaving. They feel like they're doing it wrong. They feel like they're breaking the law. They're like, fuck, I do this shit. Like, come on. And we finally get them to do it. And then I say, well, here's the key. It doesn't have to start that way today, but what would happen if that's what your life looks like?